our new investment in Caribou, um, open source for protein folding. AlphaFold goes open source with protein folding. Those are two exciting events today. I want to discuss Caribou a little bit more in detail, and then also just mention why we're so excited about AlphaFold and the AlphaFold protein folding project, which we believe is a very important milestone in the engineering of life sciences. This is a Not Even Wrong podcast. It's August 2nd, 2021. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 1.75%. The market is down 18 basis points. For the year, we are up 3.75%. The market is up roughly 17.4%. We're underperforming by 14.7%. So I want to discuss two specific events. One is our investment in Caribou. We initiated the investment today. So we bought shares of the recently IPO'd Caribou Biosciences. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about AlphaFold and why that's so important and also fits exactly into the mission of Orange Capital Partners. Caribou Biosciences is a company that was founded very shortly after the discovery of CRISPR technology. One of the founders is actually Jennifer Doudna, the lady that got the Nobel Prize together with Emmanuel Charpentier for the CRISPR discovery. And I've discussed this already before a few times on this podcast, that why we intend to invest, and now we did the investment. So I just want to sort of, in light of the completion, just mention why we did this and why this fits into our mission. So Caribou Bioscience is primarily in the business of allogenic cell therapy through CRISPR engineering. What that means is that we take an off-the-shelf cell from a healthy donor, and then we engineer the cell to either have the ability, for example, for the T cells to attack tumors, or we generate so-called natural killer cells, NK cells, to go after tumors. In both cases, it's oncology, so we go after cancer. And what this means in practice is the following. Let's say patient A unfortunately gets diagnosed with cancer. Patient A goes to the hospital. The hospital orders a specific cell, engineered cell, that attacks the specific tumor of patient A. The patient does not have to give their own immune cells or NK cells or anything like that. It is off the shelf. It is already available. All that needs to be done is the fine-tuning, the fine programming to make sure that the patient's immune system doesn't attack the foreign cells. So three problems have to be solved in this process. One, I've already mentioned, the immune response. If you go with allogenic cell therapy, you have to make sure that the immune response is taken care of. Because the cells come from third parties, it is highly likely that your immune system will attack those cells, even though they're very useful for you because they're going to fight your cancer. Unfortunately, your immune system is not that smart. It will just say, this is foreign, I need to kill it. So what allogenic cell therapy engineering is first and foremost, make sure that that immune response is not going to happen. Second, the cells have to effectively find the tumor and third, kill it. So those are the three steps that immunotherapy in general has to do. And in particular, the allogenic immunotherapy, that is the therapy where you use third-party cells. Why is allogenic cell therapy so important? We mentioned that in our previous episode is one of the three main drivers of wealth generation in our portfolio, because allogenic cell therapy is first and foremost a scalable, low-cost, high-efficacy, high-efficiency, disruptive method in cell engineering. The analogy would be autologous cell therapy, which is the therapy where you take the patient, so patient A is sick, you take their cells, you re-engineer them, you reintroduce them back into their body. That is, for several reasons, difficult. First and foremost, it's very expensive. It's not scalable because every treatment has to be done by the actual patient cell. It's just not scalable. It takes time. It's difficult. It's bespoke. And most importantly, also, often sick people already have a weak immune system. So you take their T cells, for example, or their NK cells, which are already weakened, and then they have to go and fight cancer. It's highly likely that maybe that won't be so that won't have that much efficacy. So therefore, allogenic cell therapy is a big deal. We already have an investment in Fate Therapeutics on that front. Just today, also Moderna announced a small acquisition or the intention of an acquisition. I think it was a rumor. I'm not sure if it was actually announced. But no matter what, there is interest from big pharma, and Moderna now is big pharma, that to invest in this technology. We believe it's very exciting because it fits into our mission to generate wealth by investing in fundamentally new concepts and engineering practices with large impact. This is a fundamentally new concept, cell engineering. It has massive, it's also a new engineering practice because we have to engineer those cells, make them adaptable for our immune system, and then of course it has a huge impact if it works, and therefore it fits perfectly well into our mission. And we've said several times, for us, wealth generation is very much starts with the alignment of our companies with our mission. This is the first step that we have to make sure is taken care of, because we cannot invest in things that are not aligned with our mission. It doesn't mean those are bad stocks. It just means that for us personally, it doesn't work for our fund, and therefore it's a little bit it's just not very advisable. And the purpose of this podcast is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. And this is I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. People get excited all the time about potential investments. Oh, this stock is great. This, Coinbase IPO, Airbnb IPO, the unicorns, the Snap is going to change augmented reality, and then Facebook is going into the metaverse, and blah, blah, blah. These are all great ideas, great storylines. If you're Kramer, you can make a show every day and be happy about that. But you see, the problem for a dedicated investment fund that wants to generate double-digit returns year in, year out, not every year, of course, but over the years, compound return. Our compound return is a bit above 19% since inception in 2008. If you want to be in that kind of wealth generation business, you have to focus, and the focus needs to be around your mission. I think that this is my advice. It is not written in stone. It's not a law. There's no book that says you should do this. It's just the way we consider our own practice, and it has shown to be very successful. That's why I'm very happy to share this. So formulate your mission. We have a principle stack with 4 books. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, The Innovation Stack, Jim McKelvey, Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma, and then David Deutsch's The Beginning of Infinity. Those are the sort of the 4 books on which we build our innovation, our principle stack. From there, we derive, we have a mission statement that is built on generating wealth by investing in fundamental new concepts and engineering practices with large impact. Now, fundamental new concepts and engineering practices are really, it's another word for disruption, which we see as a way to lower the cost of iteration when building an innovation stack around a new technology. We've also discussed in a recent episode how important it is for companies to take a big leap of faith, to take daring bets on technologies. For example, allogenic cell therapy through CRISPR engineering is a very daring bet. Nobody's doing this. This is highly unique. This is highly unusual, highly unconventional. And you come from that perspective and you build an innovation stack, which in other words, you build an engineering practice around this, and that's how you succeed in the marketplace. It doesn't mean you can be wrong, you can make mistakes, the technology cannot work, all these risks are there, but if it works out, the impact is large. And we believe that Caribou Biosciences is exactly along the arc of such an investment, and therefore we chose to invest. The second topic I want to discuss today is just a news item. So DeepMind, that is Google's AI effort, has developed AlphaFold, which is a technology based on machine learning and artificial intelligence more generally, that is able to predict how proteins fold based on the amino acid sequence given. This was an enormous breakthrough last year. There is a competition that is biannual, so every 2 years. It's been going on for, I believe, almost 3 decades, where people try to predict from a given amino acid sequence how a protein will fold. Until AlphaFold, the technology we've been using has been, so the way we do this is the following. We can actually we can take a certain amino acid sequence and then let the protein evolve and fold, and then also use crystal technology to actually picture exactly how that protein has folded. So we can find out how a certain amino acid sequence folds into a protein. We can do that. It just takes a long time. And the reason I'm mentioning this is the sort of the test case, meaning that in this competition, we use what they do is they take a couple of those amino acid sequences, they let them fold, and then they figure out how they folded through the crystal technology, crystal something with crystal. It doesn't matter. It's a cumbersome, bespoke, very difficult, expensive way to do it, but you can do it. And then they let teams, so they don't disclose which amino acid sequences and of course also which results they have. They just throw this at the teams and then give them a very short period of time, and those teams have to use AI or any other type of model to try to predict how this amino acid sequence that they're given will fold. In the last couple of years, AlphaFold, using their DeepMind technology, which is, I believe, built on the same ideas like AlphaGo and AlphaZero, which is sort of a self-paced, self-learning, self-supervised learning type approach, has had a lot of success in predicting sequences. And I think 2 years ago, now one competition before last, they've had the first sort of interesting successes, and in the last competition, they've just they hit the ball out of the park. They absolutely succeeded on every front, and it's almost to the point where we could say that they solved the problem. Now, if that's true or not, that's a different conversation. But now let's assume AlphaFold is in the position to take a given amino acid sequence and actually predict its folding sequence. Once we have the folding, the reason the folding is so important is because the three-dimensional structure, the folding of a protein, actually determines its function. And the protein is the workhorse of biology. So you go from DNA to amino acid sequence to protein, and the DNA is sort of the database. The amino acid sequence is the middleware, and the protein is the actual application, the software, which then actually does the work. So if you can go from DNA to amino acid sequence to protein, you can actually really decode the workings of biology. And if you can go back, which is another great feat, so you can go from, okay, how do I create a certain protein, from, okay, how is this particular protein, what is the actual amino acid sequence, and then what will be the DNA, the corresponding DNA. If you can do these analogies, you are really one big step closer to digitizing life science, which is one of the big themes of our fund. And what happened, I think the news item today is that AlphaFold is basically open sourcing a database of amino acid sequences and the corresponding folding structures for research. Why is this so important? It just opens the floodgates. It democratizes research in this area because, like I said before, you could do this in the past, but you had to invest a lot of money, a lot of graduate school hours and all that to even get one amino acid sequence to fold and then read the folding through crystal technology. It just took a long time. It was very slow and bespoke. Now we're accelerating this, like very similar to the software analogy where we open source something. We have lots of people, smaller labs with less, labs with less resources. They can do a lot more work. We open up creativity. We open the floodgates. We believe that this is it's a small step, it's a small milestone, and I'm paraphrasing Vijay Pandey from A16Z. It's one of the milestones on the arc in engineering life sciences. It's not the holy grail, of course, but it's a very important piece of knowledge, of information, of technology, of engineering that I think is very important, because here are the puzzles that we think we can put together. We have CRISPR technology, which allows you to edit the genome. We have the knowledge of how DNA forms into amino acid sequences, and then the knowledge how amino acid sequences form into proteins. If we can arch from DNA, from programming the DNA all the way to how proteins fold, we can arch from the data, which is the DNA, to the actual workings, the functioning, which is the protein. And therefore, we can really start in programming life science. We can change the program, because we not just do we know how the DNA will change if we apply CRISPR, we know also how the effect will be on the proteins which actually do the work. And that has a tremendous applications in life sciences, in medicine, in agriculture, in pharma, and that is why we're so excited. We have a bunch of investments in the CRISPR space. We are also in the genome sequencing space. We have investments in synthetic bio. So we are involved. We have about 40% of our capital in these areas. This is a very big deal for us, and it fits extremely well into our mission, which is to invest in fundamental new concepts and engineering practices with large impact. There is nothing more fundamentally new than applying engineering practices to life sciences. This hasn't been done before. This is the wake of applying engineering to life sciences. We believe everybody's always talking, what's going to be the next big Amazon? Which companies? Is Stripe going to overtake Amazon? Is Facebook going to become the most valuable company, or Snap, or whatever? We believe at Orange Capital Partners that there's a very high chance that the combination of biology, computation, and AI, that is a company in this, so a general computation company that can apply computation to biology, that will actually be the largest company, at least in the first half of this century. Thank you.